Hello, UBC real estate lovers. Welcome to this set of 53 practice questions covering Chapter 21, Introduction to Real Estate Appraisal. This chapter is essential for understanding the fundamentals of property valuation, including the principles, methods, and factors that influence real estate appraisals. These questions are designed to help you reinforce key concepts related to property valuation, understand different appraisal methods, and when to apply them. Recognize the influences on property value, including external factors. Prepare for exams by testing your knowledge in a structured format. Whether you're studying for a real estate licensing exam or just looking to deepen your understanding of appraisal principles, this practice set will guide you through real-world scenarios and theoretical concepts. Take your time, review the explanations carefully, and use these questions to build confidence and expertise in real estate appraisal. Question 1. A real estate appraiser would not value. The correct option is C, the legal interest in cattle on agricultural land. Explanation. A real estate appraiser focuses on valuing interests in real property, which includes land and anything permanently attached to it, like buildings and improvements. Cattle are considered personal property, chattels, not real property, so they would not be included in a real estate appraisal. The other options involve legal interests related to land. A. An existing rental agreement. Lease agreements are part of the valuation since they affect the property's income potential. B. Airspace rights. These can be sold or leased, making them a real property interest. D. A fee simple interest in an apartment. This is outright ownership of real estate. Question 2. Which of the following statements is true? Option D. All of the above is correct because all the statements are true. Let's break it down. 1A. The presence of a special buyer in a sales transaction will greatly extend the range of possible bids. A special buyer is someone willing to pay more, or sometimes less, than market value due to a unique interest in the property. For example, a business next door might pay a premium to expand. 2B. Real property markets are local by nature due to the immobility of real property. Real estate is fixed in location, meaning that local factors, zoning, economy, demand, etc., play a major role in property value. 3C. The neighborhood an appraiser should consider when doing an appraisal may not be limited to the subdivision in which the property is located. Appraisers look at comparable sales, comps, which might be outside the immediate subdivision if there aren't enough recent sales in the area. Since all three statements are correct, option D, all of the above, is the right answer. Question 3. Which one of the following is not an appraisal approach/method? Correct answer, D, the depreciation approach. Explanation. The cost approach, income approach, and residual method are all valid appraisal methods used in real estate valuation. The depreciation approach is not a recognized appraisal method. Instead, depreciation is a factor considered within the cost approach to determine the value of improvements over time. Why the other options are incorrect. A. The residual method, used for properties with latent value or redevelopment potential. B. The cost approach, estimates value. Question 4. Which of the following transactions is the best evidence of market value to an appraiser? Correct answer is B. A prefabricated home in a large subdivision is sold after 3 months on the market. Explanation. Comparable property, located in a large subdivision with similar homes. Fair market exposure, on the market for 3 months, allowing time for a competitive price. Unbiased sale, no family ties or special deals influencing the price. Why are the other options incorrect? A. Custom home sold to a relative, incorrect. Unique features, custom built with an elevator and ramps, making it hard to compare to other homes. Family relationship, Mr. Smith sold it to his nephew, meaning the price could be influenced by personal factors rather than market conditions. C. Urgent sale due to relocation, incorrect. Quick sale 1 week. The seller rushed to sell due to moving to Nigeria, meaning she may have accepted a lower price just to finalize the deal. Market value impact. A rush sale does not reflect a typical buyer-seller negotiation process. D. Corporate sale within the same company, incorrect. Internal transaction, ABC. Corporation sold to its own subsidiary, meaning the price was likely adjusted for business reasons rather than true market value. Not an open market sale. The transaction could involve discounts, tax advantages, or strategic pricing, making it unreliable for appraisals. Question 5. Which of the following properties would be most suitable for an appraisal by the comparative approach? The correct option is B, a 2-bedroom unit in a 4-year-old condominium with many similar units on the market. Explanation: best for the comparative approach. This method works best when many similar properties have been sold recently. Plenty of comparable sales. The condo is in a high-rise with many similar units, making it easy to compare market prices. Residential property. The comparative approach is most commonly used for residential homes. Why not the others? A. Penitentiary, prison. Too unique. Special use properties like prisons do not have comparable sales. Alternative approach needed. Would likely be appraised using the cost approach due to its specialized nature. C. Custom-built architectural home. One-of-a-kind design. Designed by a famous architect, meaning few or no comparable sales exist. Alternative approach needed. The cost or income approach would be more suitable. D. Large office building, foreclosure sale. Income-generating property. The value depends on rental income, not comparable sales. Alternative approach needed. The income approach would be the best method. Question 6. An acquaintance of yours has approached you and wants to know why the bank that may finance his purchase of a house requires an appraisal. He claims that since an appraisal is not required for an investment in stocks, an appraisal should not be required for an investment in real property. Which of the following statements provides the best reasoning for your support of the bank's requirement? The correct answer is C. It is difficult to find real properties that are very much alike. Explanation: real estate is unique. No two properties are exactly the same, unlike stocks, which are identical and have clear prices. Appraisals ensure fair value. Lenders need to verify the home's value to avoid overlending on an overpriced property. Market differences, location, condition, and features make real estate pricing less predictable than stock prices. Why not the others? A. High turnover of real estate. Incorrect. Real estate does not have a higher turnover rate than stocks. In fact, stocks trade far more frequently. B. Unlimited market information. Incorrect. Real estate data is not always easy to access like stock market data. It requires local knowledge and expertise. D. Real estate is a less significant decision. Incorrect. Buying a home is a major financial decision, often far more significant than purchasing individual stocks. Question 7. Which of the following results from the immobility of land? The correct answer is B. A piece of land is zoned as parkland, increasing the value of nearby homes. Explanation: land cannot be moved. Its value is directly affected by surrounding changes, such as zoning, external influences. A park nearby makes homes more desirable, raising property values. Options 1, 3, and 4 are incorrect as they do not describe externalities resulting from land's immobility. Question 8. Two identical houses located next to one another in the same neighborhood sell within 1 week of each other. Ms. Brown sells hers for $112,000, while Mr. Fisher is only able to sell his for $100,000. Which of the following could account for the difference in selling price? The correct option is A. The listing brokerage representing Ms. Brown spent more on advertising. If a property gets more exposure through advertising, more potential buyers will see it. More buyers mean higher demand, which can increase the sale price. This is the most logical explanation for why Miss Brown's house sold for more. Option B. Mr. Fisher supplied a vendor take-back mortgage at 9%, while the market rate was 12%. Incorrect. A vendor take-back mortgage means the seller offers financing to the buyer at a lower interest rate. Since Mr. Fisher's rate was lower than the market rate, this should have increased the value of his property, not decreased it. A lower mortgage rate is attractive to buyers, making them more likely to pay a higher price. Option C. Ms. Brown needed to sell quickly because of a job transfer. Incorrect. When a seller is in a hurry to sell due to a job transfer, for example, they are usually willing to accept a lower price to speed up the process. Urgency usually leads to a faster but cheaper sale, which is opposite of what happened here. Option D. All of the above factors could account for the difference in selling price. Incorrect. This option is incorrect because only option A correctly explains the price difference. Options B and C are not valid reasons for why Ms. Brown's house sold for more. Final conclusion. The best explanation for the price difference is the extra advertising done by Ms. Brown's brokerage, which attracted more buyers and drove up the price. Question 9. An acquaintance of yours is about to purchase an income-producing property and asks your opinion of the property value. You wisely recommend that she have an appraisal done, but she counters by saying, "Since appraisers in British Columbia are not required to be licensed, it must be a straightforward process that could be done by anyone. Why should I pay someone for an appraisal?" Which of the following is not a reason for hiring a professional appraiser? Correct answer, D. Real property is short-lived. It is easy to account for changes over time. Explanation. Real property typically has a long physical and economic lifespan, and it is not easy to account for changes over such long periods. This option is the only one that doesn't justify hiring a professional appraiser. Why the other options are correct. A. Income-producing properties have low turnover rates. These types of properties don't sell frequently. So it's crucial to have an expert appraiser assess their value. B. The heterogeneity of property means that knowledge concerning one property cannot necessarily be applied to another property. Every property is unique, and a professional appraiser has the knowledge to evaluate each property on its own terms. C. Real property markets are local. Real estate markets are often influenced by local factors, which require a deep understanding of the local market. A professional appraiser has this specialized knowledge. Question 10. Which of the following people may not require an appraisal of real property? Correct answer, D. A strata council. Explanation. A strata council generally does not require an appraisal of real property. They are more focused on managing the strata and dealing with issues like maintenance, insurance, and bylaws. Why the other options are incorrect? A. The executor of an estate. The executor often needs an appraisal to determine the value of the estate for tax and distribution purposes. B. A property assessment appellant. Someone challenging their property assessment may need an appraisal to present evidence of the property's true value. C. A mortgage lender. Mortgage lenders typically require an appraisal to assess the value of a property before providing a loan. Question 11. Which of the following statements is true? Correct answer, D. The market value of real property, as determined by an experienced appraiser, may be greater than the ceiling price of the buyer. Explanation. The ceiling price is the maximum amount a buyer is willing to pay, which is subjective and can be higher than the market value determined by an appraiser. An appraiser's valuation is based on objective data, while the buyer's ceiling price is based on personal preferences and financial capacity. Why the other options are incorrect. A. Real estate appraisers must be licensed in British Columbia. Incorrect. There are no specific licensing requirements for real estate appraisers in British Columbia. However, appraisers may hold certifications or designations from industry associations. B. With an unusual property or a market with few participants, the margin of error in an appraiser's estimate of market value is always 5% or lower. Incorrect. The margin of error for appraisals in unusual markets or properties can be much higher than 5%, depending on factors like scarcity of comparables. C. A licensed real estate representative cannot give an appraisal of real property. Incorrect. There is no legal requirement that would prevent a licensed real estate representative from performing an appraisal if they have the necessary knowledge or qualifications, though they may not be certified as an appraiser. Question 12. In developing a real property appraisal, which of the following statements regarding scope of work determination is false? The false statement here is D. The appraiser need not know the report's intended use, since the client is the one paying for the report and would know its purpose. Explanation. This statement is false because the appraiser must understand the intended use of the appraisal to determine the correct scope of work. The purpose of the report affects how the appraisal is conducted, what data is collected, and the level of detail required. Why the other options are correct. A. An appraiser cannot rely on the client to identify and resolve the problem even though the client is requesting the report. Correct. The appraiser is responsible for identifying and analyzing the problem using professional expertise. Clients may not fully understand appraisal principles, so they cannot dictate how the problem should be resolved. B. It is the appraiser licensee's responsibility to determine the scope of work and the level of information required to produce credible and reliable results. Correct. The appraiser must determine the necessary level of research, data collection, and analysis to ensure the appraisal is valid and reliable. C. A brief appraisal with limited detail may be acceptable if the appraisal is within the client's requested scope of work and the limitations are explicitly written in the report. Correct. As long as the appraisal meets professional standards and clearly states any limitations, a less detailed report may be appropriate depending on the situation. Question 13. All other things being equal, a selling price less than the market value of a property is most likely to be obtained in a sale when, correct answer, A. When real estate prices are increasing very quickly. Explanation. In a fast-rising market, appraisals and listing prices often lag behind actual market values. A seller might list a property based on outdated pricing, and by the time it sells, the actual market value has already increased. This results in a sale price lower than the true market value at that moment. Why the other options are incorrect. B. When the seller is not in a hurry to sell. Incorrect. A seller who is not in a rush will wait for a better offer and likely sell at or above market value. C. When the buyer is in a hurry to buy. Incorrect. A desperate buyer will often pay more than market value to secure a property quickly. D. When the property has been on the market for more than 2 months. Incorrect. The selling price does not necessarily decrease just because a property has been on the market for a while. Other factors, like market trends and seller motivation, play a bigger role. Question 14. When preparing a market value appraisal of a single-family residence, which of the following is least likely to be an acceptable valuation practice? Correct answer, D. Using the income approach as the primary method of appraisal. Explanation. The income approach is mainly used for commercial properties or rental income-generating real estate. Single-family residences are typically valued using the comparative sales approach, as buyers base their decisions on market comparisons rather than rental income. Why the other options are acceptable in certain cases. A. Relying on the owner's information about water piping. Acceptable. As long as the report notes that the information is unverified, this is an acceptable practice in some cases. B. Ignoring high-quality construction if it's not valued in the area. Acceptable. If buyers and sellers in the neighborhood do not pay extra for high-end materials, it may not significantly impact the market value. Disregarding a private sale of an identical house. Acceptable. Private sales often lack market exposure, meaning they may not reflect true market value. An appraiser may choose to exclude such sales. Question 15. Which one of the following does not form part of the definition of market value? Correct answer, B. Value is based on the personal opinion of the value to the owner. Explanation. Market value is an objective estimate of a property's worth in an open and competitive market. Personal opinion or sentimental value does not determine market value. Why the other options are correct. A. Value is a price that is reasonably expected to prevail. Correct. Market value reflects the most probable price a property would sell for under normal market conditions. C. Value is determined at a particular point in time. Correct. Market value is not fixed. It fluctuates based on market conditions and must be determined at a specific time. D. The buyer and seller must be bargaining at arm's length. Correct. A true market value requires an open, competitive transaction with no special relationships, e.g., family sales or forced sales. Question 16. In conducting an appraisal, a market analysis is undertaken covering a range of factors. Which of the following is not a reason for including a market analysis in an appraisal report? Correct answer, D. To reconcile the market value. Explanation. Market analysis helps an appraiser understand external factors like property trends, supply and demand, and comparable properties. However, reconciling market value is a separate process done after analyzing data, not a direct reason for including a market analysis. Why the other options are correct. A. To indicate the current status of the subject property in relation to trends in property values. Correct. Market analysis helps assess trends in property values, which is essential in determining an accurate appraisal. B. To confirm that comparable properties have been selected from the same market as the subject property and are subject to the same market forces. Correct. Ensuring comparable properties come from the same market makes the appraisal more reliable. C. To provide the client with an appreciation of the socioeconomic determinants of supply and demand. Correct. A market analysis examines economic factors like employment rates, interest rates, and population growth, all of which influence property value. Question 17. Which one of the following statements regarding appraisal is true? Correct answer. B. The complexity of real estate as a product requires the involvement of an expert appraiser. Explanation. Real estate is unique and has many influencing factors: location, zoning, condition, market trends. Appraisers have the expertise to analyze these factors and determine accurate market values. Why the other options are incorrect? A. In order to appraise real property, one needs a minimum of a real estate trading services license. Incorrect. No specific license is required to conduct an appraisal, although professional designations exist, e.g., AIC, CRA. C. Real estate can be classified as a homogeneous commodity. Incorrect. Real estate is heterogeneous, meaning no two properties are exactly alike. Each has unique characteristics. D. Due to the low turnover of real estate, it is easy to collect information regarding recent transactions. Incorrect. Since real estate turnover is relatively low, finding recent, relevant sales data can be difficult. Question 18. In the context of appraisal, which one of the following properties is most likely to possess latent value? Correct answer. B. A single-family residence that is the only house on the block not yet converted to the commercial use that is permitted by zoning. Explanation. Latent value refers to the potential for a property to be worth more if used differently, typically when its current use is not its highest and best use. The single-family home in a commercially zoned area has latent value because converting it to a commercial property would likely increase its worth. Why the other options are incorrect. A. A 3-story condominium development that has recently been completed, all units having been sold before completion of construction. Incorrect. The condominium project is already being used at its highest and best use, meaning it does not have significant unrealized potential. C. A large shopping mall office tower complex that occupies a location at the intersection of 2 main streets in a British Columbia municipality. Incorrect. A shopping mall office tower at a major intersection is already optimized for its best use, meaning it does not possess significant latent value. D. A sports store that is built on land zoned for commercial use. Incorrect. Since the sports store aligns with the commercial zoning, the property is already being used efficiently. Question 19. Which of the following statements is false? Correct answer. A. An appraisal mistake of $3,000 on a $276,000 house is beyond the margin of allowable error. Explanation. The allowable margin of error in an appraisal is generally around 10%. 10% of $276,000 is $27,600, meaning an error of $3,000 is well within the acceptable margin. Since this statement is false, it is the correct choice for this question. Why the other options are true. B. Form reports often meet the needs of financial institutions, insurance companies, and government agencies. True. Many lenders, insurers, and government bodies use standardized form reports for efficiency and consistency in property valuations. C. The burden of proof is on the appraiser to explain an apparent overvaluation of a property. True. If an appraisal is challenged for overvaluation, the appraiser must justify their assessment with proper data and methodology. D. An appraiser may be responsible to any party who reasonably relies on the appraisal report for the purpose it was conducted. True. If a third party relies on the appraisal in a way that was intended, the appraiser could be held accountable for errors or misrepresentation. Question 20. In which one of the following situations is the residual method of appraisal the most suitable method to use? Correct answer D, where the subject property possesses development potential. Explanation. The residual method of appraisal is most suitable for properties with development potential or properties that are not currently at their highest and best use. It calculates land value by estimating the property's value after development and subtracting the estimated costs of development. Why the other options are incorrect. A. Where the market supply and demand forces are fairly constant. Incorrect. The residual method is typically used in dynamic markets where property values can change significantly due to development, not in stable markets. B. Where there is a large volume of available market data and the subject property represents the highest and best use of the site. Incorrect. When market data is abundant and the property is already at its best use, the direct comparison or income approach would be more appropriate. C. Where the value to be measured is market value expressed as an income flow. Incorrect. If the focus is on income flow, the income approach, capitalization method, is typically used, not the residual method. Question 21. For which one of the following properties would an appraiser be most justified in employing the cost approach to determine market value? Correct answer. B. A newly constructed church of contemporary design. Explanation. The cost approach is most appropriate when a property is new and its construction cost can be accurately estimated. There are few comparable sales for direct comparison. The income approach is not suitable. E. The property does not generate rental income. Churches, schools, and government buildings often have unique designs and limited market transactions, making them difficult to value using the comparison or income approach. Since the church is newly built, depreciation is minimal, and the cost approach provides a reliable valuation. Why the other options are incorrect. A. A 40-year-old bungalow that represents the highest and best use. Incorrect. The direct comparison approach is best for residential properties because there are many comparable sales available. The cost approach would not be ideal due to depreciation over 40 years. C. A vacant lot that possesses latent value. Incorrect. The residual method is best for a vacant lot because it accounts for its development potential rather than replacement cost. D. A high-rise office tower located in an outer suburb. Incorrect. The income approach is the best method for an income-generating property like an office tower, as its value is based on rental income and return on investment. Question 22. Why is the submarket for single-family residences considered to be more perfect than other real estate submarkets? Correct answer. C. There is a more abundant flow of market information relating to current prices. Explanation. The single-family residence market is considered more perfect than other real estate submarkets because there are frequent sales transactions providing more data on prices. Buyers and sellers can easily access recent sales information from real estate listings and public records. The market has many participants, making it more competitive and less prone to price manipulation. Since a perfect market in economic terms requires easy access to information and numerous transactions, the single-family home market is closer to this ideal compared to commercial or specialized real estate markets. Why the other options are incorrect. A. Buyers and sellers do not necessarily attempt to achieve the greatest profit. Incorrect. In reality, most buyers want the best deal and sellers want the highest price. The presence of profit motives does not make a market more or less perfect. B. Each property is unique. Incorrect. While properties have differences in location, design, and condition, single-family homes tend to be more standardized than commercial buildings or industrial properties, making valuation easier. D. There are a small number of buyers and sellers relative to the total number of properties. Incorrect. The single-family market has many buyers and sellers, which increases market efficiency. Question 23. When a property possesses latent value. Correct answer. A. Higher value may result through a change of use. Explanation. Latent value exists when a property's current use does not represent its highest and best use. This means the property could be more valuable if it were used differently. For example, a single-family home in a commercial district might have latent value because redeveloping it into a commercial property could make it worth more. A vacant lot zoned for high-density development may have latent value if it is currently underutilized as a parking lot, since higher value can be achieved by changing the use of the property. Why the other options are incorrect. B. The existing property should undergo renovation for continued similar use. Incorrect. Renovating the property for the same use does not unlock its latent value. The key to latent value is a change in use, not just improvements. C. The buyer should have it rezoned. Incorrect. While rezoning might increase value, a property can still have latent value under its current zoning. Rezoning is also not always possible. D. It should not be offered for sale. Incorrect. A property with latent value can be sold at a higher price to a buyer who sees its potential. Holding on to it is not necessary. Question 24. Of the following externalities, which would represent the best example of an externality that is both positive and negative? Correct answer, C. Proximity to a transportation facility. Explanation. An externality is an effect, positive or negative, that a property experiences due to outside factors beyond its control. Option C. Proximity to a transportation facility is the best example of an externality that can be both positive and negative. Positive, easier access to public transit, roads, and economic activity, which can increase property value. Negative, noise, congestion, and air pollution, which can decrease property value. This dual effect makes it the best example of a mixed externality. Why the other options are incorrect? Parks. Mostly positive, parks generally increase property values due to aesthetics and recreation. However, while occasional negatives, e.g., noise, crime, exist, they are usually minor compared to the benefits. B. Pollution. Only negative, pollution harms property values and the environment. There is no clear positive aspect. D. Golf course. Mostly positive, golf courses increase property values by offering open green spaces and prestige. Some negatives, e.g., pesticide use, maintenance, noise, exist but are minor compared to the positives. Question 25. Which of the following might be the subject of a real property appraisal? Correct answer. A. Airspace rights. Explanation. A real property appraisal evaluates ownership rights in real estate. Airspace rights are a legal interest in real property, making them subject to appraisal. These rights are often relevant in urban areas where high-rise developments or air rights above roads and railways are involved. Why the other options are incorrect? B. A life insurance policy, not real property. A life insurance policy is a financial contract, not a tangible real estate interest. C. A diamond, personal property, not real property. Diamonds are movable assets, chattels, not real estate. A homeowner's insurance policy, not real property. This is an insurance contract, not a legal interest in real estate itself. Question 26. A property that is not employed in its highest and best use. Correct answer. B. Possesses latent value. Explanation. If a property is not being used at its highest and best use, it has redevelopment potential. This is called latent value. Latent value refers to the potential increase in property value if it were used more efficiently, e.g., rezoned for commercial use instead of remaining residential. Why the other options are incorrect? A. Should be renovated. Not necessarily. Renovation improves existing use, but does not change the fundamental use of the property. If the highest and best use is different from the current use, renovation alone won't unlock its full value. C. Should be rezoned. Not always required. A property can possess latent value without rezoning. Sometimes the current zoning already allows for a higher value use, but the owner hasn't developed it to its full potential. D. Should be appraised by the cost approach. Not the best approach. The cost approach is usually used for unique or new buildings, e.g. churches, schools, not for properties with latent value where redevelopment is a factor. Instead, the residual or direct comparison method may be more appropriate. Question 27. Under which one of the following conditions is the comparative approach of appraisal most applicable? Correct answer. B. Where buyers and sellers are well informed about current sales transactions. Explanation. The comparative approach, also called the direct comparison approach, is most effective when there is a sufficient number of recent sales of similar properties. Buyers and sellers must be well informed about these sales to ensure that the appraised value reflects market conditions. Why the other options are incorrect? A. Where the volume of sales transactions is very low. The comparative approach relies on recent sales data of similar properties. If few properties have been sold, there is not enough data to make accurate comparisons. C. Where the property has redevelopment potential. If a property has redevelopment potential, it has latent value, and the residual method is often used instead. The comparative approach does not fully capture a property's value when it could be repurposed for higher value use. D. Where the property is unique. Unique properties do not have sufficient comparable sales, making the comparative approach less useful. Instead, the cost approach or income approach is often more appropriate. Question 28. When a property possesses latent value, it is implied that, correct answer, A, the property is not currently employed in its highest and best use. Explanation. A property possesses latent value when it has potential for a higher value if it were used differently. This means the property is not currently at its highest and best use, but could be redeveloped or repurposed to achieve a higher market value. Why the other options are incorrect. B. The current rent earned on the property is below market rent. Latent value is not just about rental income, it relates to the highest and best use of the property. A property can still be at its best use even if rents are temporarily below market. C. The property is unprofitable in its current use. A property may still be profitable but not optimized for its full potential. Latent value exists even if a property is making money but could make more in a different use. D. The property will need to be sold below replacement cost. Latent value does not mean a property must sell below replacement cost. It simply means it has untapped potential, not that it is necessarily undervalued. Question 29. Real property is affected by external influences from neighboring properties. What characteristic of real estate causes this? Correct answer B. Real property is immobile. Explanation. One of the fundamental characteristics of real estate is immobility. Land cannot be moved. Because of this, real property is permanently affected by external factors like neighboring property values, zoning laws and land use changes, environmental conditions, economic development or decline in an area. Since real estate cannot be relocated, its value and desirability are directly influenced by its surrounding properties and environment. Why the other options are incorrect. A. The supply of urban land is not fixed. While urban land can be repurposed or redeveloped, this does not explain why real property is influenced by its neighbors. The fixed location of land is the real issue. C. Ownership of real property may be divided both physically and legally. While real property can be divided, e.g., condos, lease agreements, this characteristic does not explain why neighboring properties impact a property's value. D. Real property is durable. Durability refers to how long structures last, not how external factors like noisy neighbors or new developments affect property value. Question 30. The flow of information concerning real property is limited and difficult to collect because, correct answer, real property markets are local, with real estate fixed in location. Explanation. Real estate data is difficult to collect because 1. Real estate is immobile, meaning each market is unique and dependent on local conditions. 2. Property transactions occur in localized markets, making it harder to gather standardized, large-scale data. 3. Market trends vary between cities, neighborhoods, and even streets, requiring detailed local research. Unlike stocks or commodities, real estate transactions are private, complex, and less frequent, making data harder to compile and analyze. Why the other options are incorrect. A. The turnover rate for real property is high. Incorrect. Real estate turns over slowly compared to other assets, which limits the amount of transaction data available. B. Every parcel of real property is homogeneous. Incorrect. Real estate is heterogeneous, meaning every property is unique in size, shape, location, and features. This uniqueness makes it harder to standardize data. C. Real property is short-lived and quick to respond to market pressures. Incorrect. Real estate is durable and responds slowly to market changes because of high transaction costs and regulatory processes. Question 31. Before valuing a house, an appraiser should assume that, correct answer, A. The registered owner is not the ultimate source of data on the property. Explanation. An appraiser must independently verify property details rather than relying solely on the registered owner's information. The owner may be unaware of certain aspects, or they may provide biased or incomplete data. Instead, appraisers use market research, land titles, zoning regulations, and physical inspections to assess value accurately. Why the other options are incorrect. B. The registered owner has a fee simple interest in the land. Incorrect. The appraiser should not assume fee simple ownership. There could be leasehold interests, easements, or restrictions affecting the property. C. Value to owner equals market value. Incorrect. Value to owner is subjective and based on personal circumstances, whereas market value is objective, determined by the broader real estate market. D. The property is unencumbered. Incorrect. The property may have mortgages, liens, easements, or other encumbrances that affect its value. The appraiser must verify this instead of assuming it is clear of any claims. Key takeaways. Appraisers must independently verify property details rather than relying solely on the owner. Ownership type, encumbrances, and market value should be researched, not assumed. Market value does not equal to value to owner. Market value is based on comparable sales and demand, while value to owner is personal. Question 32. Which of the following is an example of a short-term national general economic factor? Correct answer, D. Interest rates on treasury bills. Explanation. Short-term economic factors are those that can change quickly and have an immediate impact on the economy. Interest rates on treasury bills fluctuate frequently and directly influence borrowing costs, investment decisions, and economic conditions in the short term. Why the other options are incorrect. Population shifts. Incorrect. Population shifts occur over long periods and influence long-term trends in housing demand and economic development. B. Number of public housing projects. Incorrect. Public housing projects require long-term planning and funding, making them a long-term economic factor rather than a short-term one. C. Expected changes in tax laws. Incorrect. Tax laws are typically debated and implemented over several years, impacting the economy over the long term rather than the short term. Key takeaways. Short-term factors affect the economy immediately and can change quickly, e.g., interest rates on treasury bills. Long-term factors influence economic conditions over time, e.g., population shifts, tax law changes, and housing projects. Question 33. The principle on which the comparative approach of appraisal is based is, correct answer, B. Substitution. Explanation. The comparative approach of appraisal is based on the principle of substitution, which states that a property's value should be no more than the cost of purchasing a substitute property that provides similar utility. This method works under the assumption that a rational buyer will not pay more for a property than what it would cost to acquire a similar one with equal benefits in the same market. Why the other options are incorrect. Indefeasibility. Incorrect. Indefeasibility refers to a title's security and protection against claims, not a principle of property valuation. C. Capitalization. Incorrect. Capitalization is the basis of the income approach, where the value of a property is determined by converting its income into value, e.g., using a capitalization rate. D. Accessibility. Incorrect. Accessibility refers to physical or economic access to a property, but it is not a valuation principle. Key takeaways. The comparative approach values a property by comparing it to recently sold properties of similar characteristics. The principle of substitution ensures that buyers won't overpay for a property if similar, more affordable options are available. Question 34. A potential buyer is aware of the asking price for a particular house listed for sale. Which of the following statements is normally false? Correct answer. D. The seller is likely to know the buyer's ceiling price. Explanation. In a real estate transaction, the buyer's ceiling price, the maximum they are willing to pay, is typically unknown to the seller. Buyers usually keep this information private to avoid weakening their negotiating position. Therefore, it is false to assume that the seller knows the buyer's ceiling price. Why the other options are true. A. The probable sale price will be equal to or above the floor price. True. The floor price is usually the lowest amount the seller is willing to accept. Since a sale occurs only when the offer meets or exceeds this amount, the final price will always be equal to or above the floor price. B. The probable sale price will be equal to or above the seller's value to owner. True. A rational seller will only sell if the price offered is worth it to them based on their valuation of the property. Therefore, the sale price is typically at or above their personal value of the property. C. The ceiling price will be equal to or below the asking price. True. The asking price represents the seller's desired price, but buyers typically negotiate and rarely exceed this amount. The ceiling price, the maximum the buyer will pay, will either match or be lower than the asking price, but not necessarily higher. Key takeaways. The seller usually does not know the buyer's maximum willingness to pay, ceiling price. The sale price will always be above the seller's minimum acceptable price, floor price. The asking price acts as a benchmark, but negotiation determines the final price. Question 35. Which of the following is a key determinant of the value of a property? Correct answer, D. Rights of ownership. Explanation. The value of a property is primarily determined by the legal rights of ownership and the physical characteristics of the property. Ownership rights define what the owner can and cannot do with the property, such as the right to sell or lease it, the right to develop or demolish structures, the presence of easements, encumbrances, or zoning restrictions. These factors play a crucial role in how much a property is worth in the market. Why the other options are incorrect? A. Vendor financing. Incorrect. Vendor financing, when the seller helps finance the purchase, can impact the sale but is not a fundamental determinant of value. The property's market value exists independently of financing arrangements. B. Cash equivalent price. Incorrect. The cash equivalent price adjusts for non-market financing but does not determine value itself. Instead, it is a method used to compare sales. C. Listing, asking price. Incorrect. The asking price is just what the seller hopes to receive. It does not always reflect market value. Many properties sell above or below the listed price based on negotiation and market conditions. Key takeaways. Rights of ownership define what a property is worth. Market value is based on legal rights, property features, and external factors, not just asking prices or financing terms. The asking price and financing methods may influence transactions, but do not determine intrinsic property value. Question 36. Marissa owns a 45-year-old apartment building. All 6 suites are rented out at below-market rents, and the current leases are not up for renewal for another 2 years. The apartment building is situated in a block in which all of the other apartment buildings have been torn down and replaced with office buildings. In addition, the apartment is situated on land zoned for commercial purposes. Which of the following statements is true about the state of Marissa's investment? Correct answer, C. Marissa's apartment possesses latent value. Explanation. Marissa's property has latent value because 1. The land is zoned for commercial use, meaning it could be developed into a more valuable commercial property rather than remaining residential. 2. Surrounding properties have already been redeveloped, indicating strong market demand for office space. 3. Current use, residential, is not the highest and best use, since commercial use would likely yield higher returns. Why the other options are incorrect? A. Marissa's apartment is not ripe for redevelopment. This is false because the surrounding buildings have already been redeveloped, meaning the property is indeed ripe for redevelopment. B. The tenants' rents will now increase. This is false because their leases are locked in for 2 years, meaning rent cannot increase until renewal. D. Marissa's apartment is currently at its highest and best use. This is false because commercial development would be a more profitable use of the land, proving that it is not at its highest and best use. Key takeaways. Latent value exists when a property's current use is below its highest and best use. Marissa's property is ripe for redevelopment into an office building to maximize its potential. Locked-in leases prevent immediate rent increases, but the long-term value lies in redeveloping the property. Question 37. An appraiser is looking for comparables to use in valuing a single-family residence. Which of the following sales could provide good evidence of market value to the appraiser? Correct answer B. A similar house in the neighborhood sold last month after having been listed for 2 months. This is the best comparable because 1. Similar property type. The house is similar to the subject property. 2. Same neighborhood. Location consistency strengthens comparability. 3. Recent sale. The sale happened last month, ensuring that market conditions are similar. 4. Normal market exposure. The property was listed for 2 months, indicating a typical selling period without undue pressure. Why the other options are incorrect? A. An identical house is listed at $210,000 but has not yet sold. List price does not equals market value. The asking price is a seller's expectation, not a confirmed sale price. Appraisers use actual sales data, not unsold listings. C. A similar house in a similar neighborhood was purchased by a developer assembling land. The buyer was a developer, meaning it could have been an above-market or strategic purchase, not a typical market transaction. The property may not have been at its highest and best use, skewing the sale price. D. The house next door sold quickly after the owner was transferred to Winnipeg. The seller was highly motivated, forced to move quickly, which likely led to a below-market price. Appraisers look for normal market transactions, not distressed sales that may not reflect true value. Key takeaways. Best comparables are recent, similar, and reflect normal market conditions. List prices are not sales prices. Only sold properties provide market value evidence. Special circumstances, developer purchases, rush sales can distort fair market value. Question 38. The subject of an appraisal is, correct answer, D. The value of the legal rights of ownership vested in a particular piece of real estate. Explanation. An appraisal determines the market value of the ownership interest in a property, not just the physical structure. Real estate ownership includes rights such as possession, use, transfer, and income generation. The appraised value depends on what legal rights the owner holds, e.g., full ownership, leasehold interest. Why the other options are incorrect. A. The market value of the physical property. Appraisals do not just value the physical structure, they value the rights associated with ownership. Example, two identical buildings can have different values based on ownership rights, e.g., leased versus fully owned. B. A fee simple estate on a cash or cash-to-first mortgage basis. Fee simple estate is the most common type of ownership, but appraisals can also value leasehold interests, life estates, or partial interests. Not all appraisals assume a cash or cash-to-first mortgage basis. C. A subjective measure of value by an experienced appraiser. Appraisals are objective estimates based on market data, comparable sales, and professional methodologies, not personal opinions. Key takeaways. The subject of an appraisal is the ownership rights associated with a property, not just the physical building. Legal interests, e.g. fee simple, leasehold easements, impact value. Market value is objective, not a personal judgment.
Question 39. The income approach is generally not used for the valuation of. Correct answer, B. Single-family residences. Explanation. The income approach is primarily used for income-generating properties, such as rental apartments, commercial buildings, warehouses, and leased properties. Single-family homes are usually owner-occupied, meaning they do not generate rental income, making the income approach unsuitable. Instead, appraisers typically use the direct comparison approach, comparing recent sales of similar homes. Why the other options are incorrect. A. Warehouses. Warehouses are often leased out to businesses, generating rental income. The income approach is useful for estimating the present value of future rental income. C. Leasehold interests. Leasehold interests involve renting out land or property, making them income-generating assets. The income approach helps determine the value of rental cash flows over the lease term. D. Apartment buildings. Apartment buildings generate income from tenants paying rent. The income approach is one of the main valuation methods used for apartments. Key takeaways. The income approach is best suited for properties that generate rental income. Single-family homes are typically owner-occupied, making the comparative approach more appropriate. Warehouses, leaseholds, and apartments generate income, making them ideal for the income approach.
Question 40. Two neighbors, Ms. Finch and Mr. Falcon, each sold their homes last week. Ms. Finch sold her house for $150,000, while Mr. Falcon's house only sold for $132,000. Both houses are identical in all respects that are important to buyers. Which of the following could account for the difference in selling price? Correct answer, B. Mr. Falcon had already purchased another home and needed to sell this home immediately. Explanation. When a seller is in a rush to sell, e.g., because they have already bought another home, they may accept a lower offer to close the deal quickly. Desperation leads to lower negotiating power, which can result in a below-market sale price. Since both homes were identical in all aspects important to buyers, the difference in price is likely due to Mr. Falcon's urgency. Why the other options are incorrect. A. Ms. Finch had already purchased another home and needed to sell this home immediately. If Ms. Finch was in a rush to sell, her house would have likely sold for less, not more. But she sold for $150,000, which means she likely had better negotiating power and was not in a hurry. C. Mr. Falcon supplied a vendor take-back mortgage of 13%, while the current market rate was 16%. A vendor take-back mortgage at below-market rates, 13% versus 16%, is actually a buyer incentive that could have increased the selling price, not decreased it. D. All of the above factors could account for the difference in selling price. Since only Mr. Falcon's urgency led to a lower price, this option is incorrect. Key takeaways. A motivated seller, in a rush, often gets a lower price. A vendor take-back mortgage at below-market rates is an incentive, not a price reducer. Ms. Finch was likely in a stronger financial position, allowing her to sell at a higher price. Question 41. Which one of the following factors is most likely to affect the value of residential real property in the short run? Correct answer. B. A change in mortgage interest rates. Explanation. Mortgage interest rates directly impact housing affordability. When rates increase, borrowing becomes more expensive, leading to lower demand and decreasing property values. When rates decrease, mortgages become cheaper, demand rises, and property values go up. Interest rate changes can immediately impact buyers' ability to secure financing and afford homes, making it the most short-term factor on this list. Why the other options are incorrect. A. Shifts in age composition of the population. Demographic changes, e.g., aging population, millennial homebuyers, affect housing trends over decades, not short-term prices. This is a long-term factor influencing housing supply and demand over time. C. A shift in the balance of trade between countries. Trade balances impact a country's overall economy, but do not immediately affect local real estate values. It could have indirect effects over time, but not in the short run. D. The supply and cost of raw materials and energy. While higher material and energy costs can increase construction costs, this primarily affects new builds over time. Existing home values do not fluctuate immediately based on these costs. Key takeaways. Mortgage rates have an immediate impact on home affordability and prices. Demographics, trade balances, and material costs are long-term influences. Short-term value shifts in real estate are mostly tied to interest rates and market sentiment. Question 42. Which appraisal approach/method would be most suitable to appraise a new pulp mill in Squamish? Correct answer. D. Cost approach. A pulp mill is a specialized industrial property with few or no comparable sales in the market. The cost approach is best when the property is unique and has limited market transactions. The property is new, making depreciation calculations straightforward. The property's value is primarily based on its construction cost rather than its income or comparable sales. Cost approach formula, property value, equals cost to replace/reproduce minus depreciation plus land value. Since the pulp mill is new, depreciation is minimal, making this approach even more reliable. Why the other options are incorrect. A. Market comparison approach. This method relies on recent sales of similar properties. A pulp mill is highly specialized, and comparable sales are rare. This method is more suitable for residential or commercial properties where similar sales exist. B. Residual approach. Used for properties with redevelopment potential, e.g., land with different zoning possibilities. A pulp mill is not being redeveloped, so this method is not applicable. C. Income approach. Used for income-generating properties like rental buildings, offices, or commercial spaces. A pulp mill is an industrial facility, and while it generates revenue, its value is not primarily based on rental income. Income approach might be a secondary consideration, but the cost approach is more reliable due to the mill's uniqueness. Key takeaways. The cost approach is best for unique, specialized properties with no market comparisons. A pulp mill is a highly specialized industrial facility, making cost-based valuation the most appropriate. Market, residual, and income approaches are not suitable for this scenario. Question 43. When a bidder's ceiling price for a lot is $30,500 and the owner's floor price is $32,500, correct answer, B. A sale cannot take place. Explanation. The ceiling price, $30,500, is the maximum the bidder is willing to pay. The floor price, $32,500, is the minimum the owner is willing to accept. Since $30,500 is less than $32,500, there is no overlap in price expectations, meaning a sale cannot happen. Why the other options are incorrect. A. The parties could negotiate and produce a sale. Negotiation only works if there is a potential overlap. Here, the bidder won't go above $30,500 and the owner won't go below $32,500, so no deal is possible. C. The sale price of the lot will be $31,500. $31,500 falls between the bidder's ceiling and the owner's floor. Neither party would agree to this price. The bidder won't pay more than $30,500. The owner won't accept less than $32,500. A deal is only possible if their ranges overlap, which isn't the case here. D. Neither party is behaving reasonably. Reasonableness depends on market conditions, not just willingness to negotiate. The bidder and seller have different valuations, which is normal in a negotiation. They simply do not agree on the price, but that doesn't mean either is being unreasonable. Key takeaways. A sale requires overlapping price ranges. If a bidder's ceiling is below the owner's floor, a sale cannot happen. Neither party is necessarily being unreasonable, just unwilling to adjust their price expectations. Question 44. Which one of the following does not result from the immobility of land? Correct answer. A. The need for debt financing. Explanation. Immobility of land means that land cannot be moved, which leads to specific consequences. Debt financing, borrowing money to purchase land, is not caused by land being immobile. Buyers use financing for many types of assets, even those that aren't immobile, e.g. cars, businesses. The need for debt financing is driven by price and affordability, not immobility. Why the other options are incorrect. B. A vulnerability to outside environmental factors. Since land cannot be moved, it is exposed to environmental risks, e.g. pollution, flooding, wildfires. C. An inability to move a listed property to a better resale market. If demand is low in one area, you cannot relocate the property to a better market, you must sell it where it is. D. The necessity for owners to travel in order to take advantage of services provided by different parcels of land. If services, e.g. schools, hospitals, are not nearby, owners must travel since they cannot move their land closer. Key takeaways. Land is immobile, which affects resale, environmental risks, and access to services. Debt financing depends on affordability, not land's immobility. Real estate markets are local, and properties must be sold where they exist. Question 45. Real property is said to be more subject to the effects of externalities than most assets. This vulnerability is principally due to. Correct answer. C. The immobility of land. Explanation. Land cannot be moved, which means it is permanently affected by its surroundings. Owners cannot relocate their property to escape negative externalities, e.g. pollution, high crime rates, or noisy developments. Likewise, they cannot move their property to benefit from positive externalities, e.g. new schools, improved infrastructure, or growing commercial hubs. This immobility makes real estate uniquely vulnerable to external influences. Why the other options are incorrect. A. The relatively high cost of real property. The cost of real estate affects affordability and financing, but does not determine its exposure to externalities. B. The fact that land is fixed in supply. While land supply impacts market value and scarcity, it does not directly cause real estate to be affected by externalities. D. The lack of effective government regulations. A government policies can influence real estate values, but externalities affect properties regardless of regulation. Key takeaways. Land is immobile, making it more vulnerable to external factors than other assets. Owners must adapt to external changes rather than relocate their property. Externalities, both positive and negative, significantly impact property values. Question 46. Which of the following is not a significant characteristic of improved land? Correct answer. C. Indivisibility of ownership. Explanation. Ownership of land can be divided. For example, land can be owned by multiple parties through fractional ownership or leases. Therefore, the concept of indivisibility, ownership being undivided, does not necessarily apply to improved land. Why the other options are incorrect. A. Immobility. Land is immobile, meaning it cannot be relocated. This characteristic is significant because it impacts property value, use, and potential for development. B. Durability of improvements. Improvements to land, such as buildings, roads, or utilities, are durable and can last a long time. This durability affects the long-term value and utility of the land. D. Uniqueness of each parcel. Every piece of land is unique in its location, shape, size, and surroundings. This uniqueness makes it distinct from other properties and contributes to its value. Key takeaways. Ownership of land is divisible, so indivisibility of ownership is not a defining characteristic. Immobility, durability of improvements, and uniqueness are key features of improved land. Question 47. Value in exchange is? Correct answer, B. The sale price. Explanation. Value in exchange refers to the price at which a property is actually sold in the marketplace. It is the agreed-upon amount between the buyer and seller during the transaction, which is typically the sale price. Why the other options are incorrect. A. Commonly referred to as value to the owner. Value to the owner represents the subjective worth of the property to the current owner, not its value in exchange. It may differ from the sale price, as it is based on personal preferences or needs. C. The owner's minimum price, called the floor price. The floor price is the minimum amount an owner is willing to accept for a property. It is not the value in exchange, which is the sale price. D. A range of mutual profit. While mutual profit may be a consideration in negotiations, it does not define the value in exchange, which is simply the sale price. Key takeaways. Value in exchange is the sale price, which is the agreed-upon amount for the property in a transaction. Value to the owner is different from the market value, as it reflects personal value. The floor price is the seller's minimum acceptable amount, not the sale price. Question 48. The residual method of appraisal is the most suitable method for use where the subject property. Correct answer, D, has latent value. Explanation. The residual method of appraisal is used when a property has latent value, meaning it has the potential for redevelopment or a higher use than its current one. This method determines the value of land or property by estimating the potential income from its best possible use, then subtracting development costs. Why the other options are incorrect. A. Is an apartment block in an area currently zoned for residential duplexes only. The zoning restriction suggests that the apartment block may not be legally permitted, making it uncertain whether latent value exists. B. Is vacant land. While vacant land may have development potential, its value is typically appraised using the cost or market comparison approach, unless latent value is present. C. Represents the highest and best use of the site, and there is a large volume of market data available. If the property is already at its highest and best use, then market comparison or income approaches would be more appropriate, rather than the residual method. Key takeaways. The residual method is best for properties with latent value and redevelopment potential. It calculates land value by subtracting development costs from potential revenues. This method is not ideal when the highest and best use is already realized. Question 49. Sally, an appraiser, has been asked to provide an estimate of the market value of a farmhouse and the surrounding property. Which one of the following would not affect her estimate of market value? Correct answer, B. The owner of the farmhouse is anxious to move and would like to sell as soon as possible. Explanation. The owner's urgency to sell is a personal motivation and does not affect the objective market value of the property. Appraisers focus on market conditions, legal rights, and physical characteristics, not the seller's situation. Why the other options are incorrect. A. One of the pastures on the property has been leased for 2 years to the owner of a racehorse. A lease on part of the property creates a legal interest that affects its value. A buyer would need to honor the lease, which could impact the price. C. The farmhouse and its surrounding property are located between the main road and the next-door neighbor's property. Therefore, the neighbor gets the benefit of access to his house by means of a road that runs through the farmhouse property. This suggests an easement, a legal right allowing access, which can impact property value. Easements can either increase value if they provide needed access or decrease value if they limit the owner's control. D. Homehold Finance Company recently loaned some money at a below-market interest rate to the owner of the farmhouse and secured the debt with a mortgage on the farmhouse. This mortgage is assumable. An assumable mortgage, one that a buyer can take over, affects financing options, which can influence market value. Key takeaways. Appraisers consider legal rights, restrictions, and property conditions, not the seller's personal urgency. Leases, easements, and mortgages all create legal interests that affect value. Market value is based on what a typical buyer would pay, not on a seller's timeline. Question 50. Joan was considering putting in an offer on a farm in Peachland, British Columbia for $130,000, subject to arranging suitable financing. She approached Peachy Credit Union for pre-approval of a mortgage loan, and Peachy hired A&A appraisers to determine the value of the farm for mortgage purposes. A&A appraised the property at $135,000, and Peachy Credit Union approved a mortgage loan of $101,250 to Joan, who then went ahead with the purchase. 11 months later, the bank was forced to foreclose on the property, and upon obtaining another appraisal, found that the market value of the property was only $70,000. It is found that A&A was negligent in its appraisal report. What remedies, if any, are available to Joan and Peachy Credit Union? Correct answer, C. Peachy Credit Union can sue A&A for breach of contract, and Joan can sue A&A under tort law. Explanation. A&A appraisers were negligent in their appraisal report, which overstated the market value of the farm. Peachy Credit Union had a contract with A&A to provide an accurate appraisal. Since A&A breached this duty by failing to adhere to standard appraisal practices, Peachy Credit Union can sue A&A for breach of contract. Joan relied on the appraisal when making her purchase decision, even though she did not have a direct contract with A&A. However, under tort law negligence, A&A had a duty to provide an accurate appraisal, and their failure harmed Joan financially. Since A&A's negligence directly caused financial loss to both Peachy Credit Union and Joan, both have legal claims against A&A. Why the other options are incorrect. A. Peachy Credit Union can sue A&A for breach of contract, but Joan has no case against A&A. Incorrect. Joan does have a case under tort law, as she relied on the faulty appraisal when purchasing the property. B. Peachy Credit Union can sue Joan for their loss under her personal covenant, but cannot sue A&A appraisers. The bank might try to recover its loss from Joan, but this does not eliminate their right to sue A&A for the faulty appraisal. Since A&A's negligence directly caused the loss, the bank can sue A&A. D. No remedies are available to either Joan or Peachy Credit Union. A&A's negligence caused financial harm to both Joan and Peachy Credit Union, so legal remedies are available. Key takeaways. Breach of contract. A&A had a contract with Peachy Credit Union and failed to provide a reliable appraisal. Negligence. Tort law. Even without a contract, Joan relied on A&A's appraisal and suffered financial loss due to their negligence. Both Joan and Peachy Credit Union have legal grounds to sue A&A. Question 51. In the context of appraisal, which one of the following properties is most likely to possess latent value? Correct answer, D. A farmhouse situated on land zoned for commercial use. Explanation. Latent value refers to hidden or unrealized potential in a property, often due to zoning changes, development potential, or underutilized land. A farmhouse on commercially zoned land has redevelopment potential. The land could be used for more valuable commercial purposes rather than just as a residence. If the highest and best use of the land is commercial development, the property's value could be much higher than its current use suggests. Why the other options are incorrect. A 30-acre dairy farm in the Agricultural Land Reserve. Agricultural Land Reserve, ALR. Land is protected for farming, meaning it cannot easily be redeveloped for more valuable commercial or residential uses. Since its use is restricted, it lacks latent value. B. A recently constructed duplex unit in a single-family residential area of the city. The duplex is already at its highest and best use based on current zoning. There's no hidden value because the property is already optimized for its allowable purpose. C. A bicycle store built on land zoned for commercial use. The property is already being used in alignment with its zoning, a commercial business on commercial land. No latent value exists because there's no higher potential use beyond what's already in place. Key takeaways. Latent value exists when a property's potential exceeds its current use. Zoning changes and redevelopment opportunities are common sources of latent value. A farmhouse on commercially zoned land has potential for higher value commercial use, making it the best choice. Question 52. With respect to the valuation of real property, value to the owner is most often required to be estimated in the context of correct answer, B. Investment analysis. Explanation. Value to the owner, also called subjective value, refers to how much a specific property is worth to an individual owner rather than its market value. This concept is not used in formal appraisals, which focus on market value, what a typical buyer would pay. However, in investment analysis, an investor may assess the value of a property based on their specific financial goals, such as expected cash flow, tax benefits, or personal utility. Why the other options are incorrect. A. Churches and heritage buildings. These properties are often valued using cost or income approaches, but their value is typically determined by their market or replacement value, not value to the owner. C. A stable, unchanged market. Market stability does not affect whether value to the owner is used. In real estate valuation, market value is the standard approach, regardless of market conditions. D. Mortgage lending practice. Lenders require an objective market value appraisal, not a subjective estimate of what the property is worth to the current owner. Key takeaways. Value to the owner is subjective and personal. It is primarily used in investment analysis, where an investor calculates how much a property is worth to them based on factors like income, risk, and personal financial situation. Appraisals and mortgage lending focus on objective market value, not value to the owner. Question 53. The market value of a vacant site can be determined using correct answer, B. The comparative approach of appraisal. Explanation. The comparative market approach determines market value by comparing the vacant site to similar properties that have recently sold. Since vacant land does not have improvements, e.g. buildings, other approaches like cost or income capitalization are not suitable. The comparative approach considers factors like location, zoning, lot size, and recent sales of comparable land parcels to estimate value. Why the other options are incorrect. A. The cost approach of appraisal. The cost approach is used for properties with improvements, e.g. buildings, and estimates value based on the cost to replace those structures. Since a vacant site has no structures to replace, this method does not apply. C. The accrual approach of appraisal. This is not a recognized appraisal method, likely a distractor. D. The capitalization approach of appraisal. This approach is used for income-producing properties, where value is determined by capitalizing net income, e.g., rental income from a building. Since vacant land does not generate income, this approach is not appropriate. Key takeaways. The comparative approach is the best method for valuing vacant land because it uses real market data from similar sales. The cost and income approaches are more useful for improved properties with buildings or income potential. Vacant land is valued based on location, size, zoning, and comparable sales.